So I'm just answering exercise 5.11, question 1 for you. So we're finding the volume of the can, and it's told us that the diameter of the ball is 75 millimeters. Now, they've drawn the diagram for you, so you don't need to do that. That's the first step. If the diameter is 75 millimeters, that means the radius is half of that, which is 37.5 millimeters, okay? Now, if the diameter is 75 across that way, then the diameter is also 75 up and down as well. So the length from here, to here is also 75. Now, you can see that there's 3 balls. So we've got 3 lots of the 75. So the height of my cylinder is going to be 3 lots of that, which is 225 millimeters, okay? Now we can start with A. So we've got I equals 37.5 and H equals 225. Now the formula for my volume is pi r squared H, okay? You should know that. That's the volume of any cylinder. R is 37.5 and H is 225. Okay, so first step is the diagram, second step is the formula, third step is we substitute, and we go pi times r, which is 37.5 squared, times height, which is 225. Now we need to chuck that into our calculator and we'll get an answer. Okay, so that's my answer in millimeters cubed, which is what they want, but it's to the nearest cubic millimeter. That means I don't want any decimals. So we look at this 9. Next number is a 5, so we've got to add 1 to that. If we add 1 to 9, it becomes 10. So we've got 9940. That's 10, so that becomes a 0 underneath the 9. We add 1 to that 1, that becomes a 2. Okay, so the answer is 994,020 millimeters cubed. Okay, so that was nice and easy. For part B, we go, what's the percentage of the can's volume is taken up by the tennis ball? So we're finding the percentage, so times 100, of the can's volume. So of the, so that means fraction of the can's volume is taken up by the tennis balls. So 3 times tennis ball. Okay, now to do that, we just go, well, what's the formula for the tennis ball or the sphere? Okay, so we've got 3 times the volume of the tennis ball is 4 over 3 times pi r cubed. And we also know that the can's volume from before, if we highlight this in a different color, okay, that was the volume of the can. So we can just chuck that in there. We don't have to redo all that work. So 994,020. We times it by 100 because it's a percentage. We put that in our calculator and we'll get the answer, okay? Now, I've actually skipped a step. I forgot to substitute. So don't forget to substitute your r. So times pi times r, which is 37.5, and cube it, all on 99,400. Whoops. Now my thing's not working. 420. Okay, so we chuck that in. Remember, that was just our radius from before. That's all our greens right now. They're all matching. And the answer to that would be, gets around at 66.6 repeater, right? Percent. But it's to the nearest 1 decimal place. So that's going to be 66.7%. Because the 6 is a 1 decimal place. The next number is a 6. That means that 6 goes up to a 7. We add 1 to the 6. For part C, if 3 balls were packed tightly into a square prism instead of a cylinder, what would the volume of the prism be? Okay, so we need to draw a diagram this time because we don't have a diagram. So the square prism would look something like this. Well, that's probably a bad diagram. Let's draw the base. There's our 3 balls, 1, 2, let's try again. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm sure your diagram's so much nicer. And there's my square prism and the ball that fits tightly packed into it. So now let's find the length of my square prism from here to the other end. Well, we know the diameter is 75 millimeters. So that means the length of my square prism from here to here is also 75. And because it's a square prism, all my sides are the same. So let's write down the formula for my square prism. So V equals a square. The formula for the square is S squared times H. Okay. Now let's write down what S is here. And we know S is 75 because that's the length of the square. And just like before, my height is in blue. If I move over this way, okay, the height is not going to change. It's still going to be 225. So H equals 225. That was in blue, so we'll leave it in blue. And my, let's choose a different color. My side is 75. So all I need to do is substitute those values, and I've got the volume of my square prism. 75 squared times 225. Chuck that into the calculator. So that is the volume of my square prism. Okay, let's do part D now. Now it's asking you a question, so you need to be able to explain with words and using the information you've already calculated to justify your answer. So why do manufacturers pack tennis balls into cylindrical cans? Justify your answer. And let's look at the volume, the space that it takes up. So over here, the volume of the cylindrical can is 994,020 millimeters cubed. Whereas the volume of this, the square prism is 1,265,625 millimeters cubed. So you can see that the square prism takes up more space. And that's probably why manufacturers will choose to use a cylindrical prism over a square prism, because square prisms take more space up. Okay, I hope that helps, and ask me more questions if you need help.